Hello traders, welcome to the weekly outlook and setups volume 259. It was a very interesting week, and with NFP out of the way, with some volatility already entering into the market, let's see what we're going to be getting into the upcoming week. So without further ado, let's have a look at the economic calendar first. Alright, so with NFP out of the way, usually Mondays are quite volatile depending on how NFP played out, but we saw a lot of volatility on NFP, so could potentially Monday really start pushing? Definitely possible, but you can see we don't really have any news on Monday, so that is a little bit of a 50-50. Tuesday, no news as well. Then on Wednesday, we have the FOMC meeting minutes, which is usually not this is not really a news release. This is just like the minutes, so like what they talked about in the last FOMC meeting. And then pretty much the highlight of this week is US CPI. So very important, paired with the unemployment claims. So Thursday is going to be the very big kind of volume day. That is when the market could potentially, depending on what has happened on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, Thursday can either potentially push towards the liquidity target, or maybe if the liquidity target of the week is already taken, then Thursday can potentially start reversing as well. And then, of course, Friday also looks like a very nice day. We're having a PPI here. We're having the consumer sentiment and inflation expectations. So Thursday after CPI could be tradable. Friday is also tradable. And of course, Tuesday and Wednesday are also tradable. Although, of course, we are going to be trading before the CPI, which is not always a very good thing. But of course, if you actually wait all the way for CPI, then you might be left without a trade. Okay? So watch out for the CPI, and then Friday could potentially be a very interesting day. Monday for me, it's going to be very 50-50. I will mainly observe, and then pretty much I'm going to trade all the days apart from Thursday. So let's see how the market looks like. And just very quickly before I get into the analysis, make sure to join the Trading Fanatics free community. It is absolutely incredible. We are having a lot of engagement here, a lot of charts, and I just started running a competition that could potentially win you access to the Fanatic Way program, which is my private coaching program. There is a lot of stuff here in the classroom that you don't really want to miss, so click the first link in the description and I'm gonna see you there. Alright, so for this month, it's going to be very important for us to start from the monthly time frame, because as we forecasted last week, now we're having this very nice monthly bearish imbalance on the DXY after we collected this liquidity from this swing point. So this is usually what the market does, taking liquidity, pulling back to rebalance, and right now we can expect for the market to potentially start rolling down. Now, this could potentially not happen as well if the sentiment is really changing. Now, usually I don't really look at the numbers of NFP, at the numbers of the news releases. I just follow price, okay? So to me currently, it is of course, I would say 50-50, because it's gonna take a lot of time right now for the market to potentially really start going down. But what I really like is that we're just 4 days into the month, and the market already printed a very massive monthly candle. So you can see we moved 200 pips for 4 days, and for a whole month we didn't even move close to 200 pips. So we are getting a lot of volume, which is very good. That is very good. You can see again, we had chop for 5 weeks, and then just 1 week absolutely smashed the last how many bars. Like the last 5 weeks we just engulfed with one single candle. So we're coming into that monthly imbalance right now. Now, of course, it's going to be very key to see what is going to be happening next week, because currently we're having this little candle here that is potentially our imbalance invalidation line. So if I want to see bearishness kick into the market, I would love to see for next week to already start rocking down like this, okay, and to potentially close that potential weekly bullish imbalance. Because if that weekly bullish imbalance forms next week, so if like 5 days pass and we're having a weekly bullish imbalance here into the next weekly outlook, that is not going to be good, because then we're going to have to wait for this one to tap, react, and then do its thing, and then of course it becomes a little bit 50-50. So massive weekly candle, and then on that massive weekly candle, well, we literally had a good trading week, but a super bad trading week. I didn't take any trades. I only crushed the futures this week, but I didn't take any Forex trades. The market was just rolling up, but it didn't give a single pullback to potentially kind of get involved into a high probability trade. And what you see is happening right now is we're having 1,000 daily bullish imbalances. There is one here, there is one here, and there is one right here. So that is usually not a very good thing because that does not signify really order flow to me. That oftentimes can also be manipulation. A very nice sharp move up and then it can be followed right now by a very massive sharp move down. Okay, but currently I would say the buyers are in control. Now, is this bullish move here manipulation? Is it really a reversal? Is the DXY gonna go higher? We're tapping into that monthly bearish imbalance that is gonna potentially give the market a lot of resistance right now. NFP was also super strong. So again, currently I find it really hard to say what is gonna happen because we're just super bullish. You can see how we also end the week. We're ending the week with a very massive 4-hourly bullish imbalance as well. Structure is bullish. Imbalances are bullish. Everything to me right now is bullish. So I have absolutely no reason, just because there is that monthly bearish imbalance to the left, to be looking for shorts. Okay. So I could potentially follow the flow and follow the market until I'm proven wrong. So for example, right now you can try to go long from here. If that long fails and you start getting bearish structure and bearish imbalances, then you can take a short, target these daily zones. Then these daily zones, if they fail to push price higher, okay, and then they start pushing lower, then that is when, for example, your order flow is going to change. So what you need right now is, as usual, a little bit more information. All right, a little bit more information. So currently we're absolutely bullish, but what I also didn't like about this week is that we didn't really give any sort of pullbacks. So like we opened up extremely bullish, then we consolidating during Asia. We open again extremely bullish, then we chop. Another kind of Asian expansion here, and then we chop before NFP, and then NFP just rocketed pretty much very nicely. The 1 hourly time frame, you can see no clear pullback into imbalances. It was very choppy. The market ended up moving, but it was super choppy to trade. So that is the DXY currently. It is super bullish. So I want to see, pretty much my main question is, are we going to continue maintaining that bullishness? So let's say that maybe daily imbalances start getting tapped and then we continue to push higher. Let's say something like this. Then I would just continue going long. But if we start failing them and if we start going short, then of course I'm gonna go short. So let's see, because the month is starting right now. Let's see what kind of direction the DXY will actually pick. EURUSD, pretty much the opposite. We are tapping into a monthly bullish imbalance, and now once again we had a whole month at which we moved again 200 pips, and right now just for a week we moved again 200 pips. So rather interesting. Are we going to go long from that imbalance? Are we going to invalidate it? Well, of course we have to wait and see, because that is not a 1 hourly imbalance, it's not a 4 hourly imbalance, it's a monthly. And the higher the time frame your kind of point of interest is, the longer the time it's going to take for the market to potentially reverse. Now we're coming in here with a lot of bearishness. Now, is this bearishness manipulation? Is it a shift of order flow? That is what we're going to know next week. Now, once again, we have this weekly invalidation line. So again, if I want to see bullishness start to kick in, I would like to see this weekly imbalance invalidated next week, which means that the market should open and it should push higher, and pretty much the body of the next weekly candle should cross this line, because that is going to invalidate a new bearish imbalance. Dropping onto the daily time frame. Now, unlike the DXY, here we didn't really have so many daily bearish imbalances. We just have one. All right, we just have one. So the euro is not as weak as the DXY is strong, which probably means that there are other currencies that are a lot weaker than the euro. For example, maybe we're going to see with the pound or with the NZD or with the Aussie. So far, again, bearish, but you can see not a single pullback. It was like just Monday was chopped, Tuesday expanded, and then these 2 days were absolutely untradeable, and then Friday just dumped. I couldn't find any trades on EURUSD this week, which quite sucked. Now, transferring onto the void, you can see the chop here. No forward imbalances were pulled back to. We had an incredible chop driving us straight into that week monthly imbalance. And right now, the only thing that we have to work with is this forward imbalance here. So to me, this one actually looks nice for potential longs, okay? Because all of that here is liquidity. There is nothing to really stop price. Unlike the DXY that has like 1,000 imbalances, bullish, this one doesn't have 1,000 bearish imbalances. So to me right now, if this forward imbalance taps, reacts, and fails, then that failure potentially can start guiding me into the only thing that we can rebalance right now, which is that daily. So I don't really want to call longs. I really don't want to call longs right now. The only kind of long signal I have right now is the monthly bullish imbalance, which is like the highest time frame that I'm usually using. And if we have a monthly tap, then usually it should be game time. So again, let's see. My main focus for next week is going to be again for EU and the DXY to see, all right, are we going to shift direction from the monthly, or are we going to continue with that recent bearish order flow or bullish order flow on the DXY? So of course, that could mean we can open, we can pull back. And then if we start making bearish order flow, well, guess what? I'm going to keep shorting because that's what the market is telling me. But if we start invalidating this imbalance and if we start burning bullish ones, and if we're actually even failing to make daily bearish imbalances, in this case, for example, we also have a daily invalidation line. So if Monday already opens up bullish and invalidates a new daily bearish imbalance, I will definitely start getting interested in getting long. But if we actually form a daily bearish imbalance right now, then I could even start looking for shorts because that is giving me a lot of bearishness. So again, you can see currently, as usual, it's a little bit 50-50. And all we have to do right now is just wait for Monday, wait to see what the market's going to do, and then just simply react. The interesting thing about GU is that it does not have a monthly bullish imbalance, unlike the other ones. And recently, it also took liquidity from here, and it also tapped into an unretested monthly bearish imbalance here to the left. We're opening right now, of course, quite bearish because everything else did like that. And you can see right now we had a weekly imbalance, but by the looks of it, we are pretty much very nicely breaking and kind of closing below that weekly imbalance, which right now starts guiding me potentially towards that low. So you can already see GBP/USD looks a lot more bearish than EU because EU has a monthly imbalance that it's tapping right now, GU does not. So on GU, I would prefer, if I go short on something, I would definitely prefer to go short on GU. Now, of course, you can see that weekly imbalance here, we actually got tapped. The market just kind of reacted for one day and then it just dumped. And you can see here, for example, why the DXY is so strong is because GU has 2 daily bearish imbalances. EU has only 1 all the way up here. So in that case, we can see that GU is a lot weaker than EU. So if you're looking to pick a pair for next week to short, potentially, if of course the market is going to give us shorts, then you should be picking GBP/USD. Now, to me, I can say this is a very simple setup. Pull back into daily, short to liquidity. That's it. Okay, that's it. Now, of course, the big question is, okay, is the DXY going to agree with this? Is the DXY going to continue pushing higher, although it's in a monthly bearish imbalance? Well, of course, that is the main thing for next week. Now, here what you can see is we're also having that hourly bearish imbalance. It's a very tiny one, but that could be a fake one because we're having that daily just above it. And thinking about the weekly open, I would much prefer for the weekly to open, all right, and maybe induce some sellers from this imbalance, maybe give them a little bit of a short, and then take us into the daily and then roll down from the daily, because that is going to mean we collect the liquidity of everybody that is right now short on this break of structure from this OB here, having their stop loss above, maybe give them a little bit of a fake move, take them out, tap into the daily, look for the shift from the daily, and then target that macro weekly liquidity. So that is my plan on GU. Now on GU, I'm just going to be honest, I'm more bearish. I'm more bearish than I am bullish. I see that this weekly imbalance here got tapped. Didn't really respond. It kind of responded a little bit, but it actually pulled back into an imbalance here, and then it just dumped here on Thursday. You can see on Thursday something happened here, 8 o'clock, massive dump, and then on NFP we also dumped as well. So that is my setup on GU. I kind of like it. I don't think the market's gonna short from here. It definitely could, by the way. It definitely could, but I would much prefer for me to pull back into the daily and then get a setup from here and then start looking for the shorts. So that's GU. Let's see how it plays out. All right, next on the list is Aussie dollar. Now this one, again, if you remember, it is taking a lot of liquidity, like this high here from 2023, this high here from 2023 as well. We just took them last month, and then this month is already starting bearish, which of course could mean two things. It's either pulling back to continue with the overall uptrend, that recent 2 months uptrend, or it's reversing, okay? Now, of course, we are going to make our way to the weekly time frame to see, okay, where are we potentially pulling back into? Well, we're having that beautiful weekly bullish imbalance that is overall paired with that very nice sell to buy to the left. Call it order block, call it base, whatever you like. We're tapping inside right here. So again, the very big question, similar to, for example, EURUSD that we have, or even the DXY, are we going to start reversing and going higher from here, or are we going to continue with the overall kind of bearishness that was introduced this week? Now, I personally believe we're having a pullback right now, but again, it's really going to depend how this weekly zone is going to work out. We're having a little bit of a daily bearish imbalance here, but it is very far away from that current weekly zone. So if you get a long trade, you can potentially trade into that daily. Of course, we have to see how Monday is going to close, because we could potentially also have a daily bearish imbalance. That is not going to be great, because that is going to print what I call a supply and demand sandwich, which is like a weekly imbalance and against it going a daily. So then, of course, we have very specific setups within the Fanatic way to deal with these things, but you just simply have to also wait to see who is going to gain control. Now, the last 2 days, very bearish. Of course, we're tapping into that weekly zone. We're also having this hourly zone here. So yeah, on the short term, it is quite bearish. I really can't say that it's bullish just because we're tapping into something to the left. I always wait for confirmations because of that, to truly wait and see if the market's gonna shift. So literally, we should be taking longs where the market taps here, reacts, fails, taps here, reacts, fails, and then as the market actually starts making its way towards that high, the best opportunities are gonna occur somewhere within here, because everything that can potentially push the market lower right now is taken. And then, of course, okay, nothing to push price lower, so it should be going for the high. Okay, so it's still very early. It's very early to say that I'm bullish on AU, but I'm also not very bearish, because that would mean shorting it into that weekly zone and into that weekly OB here. That is a little bit risky. So once again, I'm just gonna give it time right now. Gonna wait to see how it's gonna open, maybe tap into this void, and then of course see what it's gonna do. Then maybe if it reverses to the daily, see what it's gonna do, and then if we eventually start popping higher, that is when I'm gonna start longing it. So to me, Aussie dollar will require patience, as of course will require all the rest of the pairs. It is a very nice week, a very nice bearish week, which still looks to me like a pullback. But of course, the big question is it a pullback or is it a reversal? And this is what we're going to see next week. So monitor if new daily bearish imbalances continue forming. Monitor if the hourly bearish imbalances are also respected. If structure is continuing to be bearish, then of course keep shorting until of course you're proven wrong. For now, I am very 50-50. I'm very 50-50. I just want to see how Monday is going to open and what the market's going to do. Let's quickly check out NZUSD. Now, this one as well is taking, for example, that high as liquidity, and it's already starting quite a bearish month. And yeah, in this case, it's the same as Aussie dollar, although it's a little bit weaker. All right, you can see, for example, here, the weekly imbalance is already kind of looking like it's being engulfed, while on AU, we are just tapping into it. So the Australian dollar is a little bit stronger than the New Zealand dollar, but that could mean two things. It could potentially mean that the New Zealand dollar is also going to drag the Aussie dollar with it, and then potentially for us to start targeting this liquidity low. Dropping onto the daily time frame, well, here you can see, here we are bearish, right? So for example, all the way from the top, we started giving the short signals with that daily bearish imbalance, and you can see to the left, there is absolutely nothing to the left. There is not a single daily bullish imbalance to potentially stop price and push it higher. So why is this very big sharp move happening like that? Well, because there is nothing to the left. It's all flat. It's all liquidity, right? And then you can see here, we're having a daily imbalance right now. And then Friday was also extremely bearish, which really sets up the market nicely, even for another imbalance, because it's going to take a lot of power for the market to pull back all the way up to actually invalidate this daily imbalance here. But of course, we can wait for that and see if it's gonna happen. On the 40 time frame as well, I mean, guys, NZUSD is just very bearish. And here, I don't even have a reason to be looking for longs. Look at where the weekly imbalance is. We didn't even respond from it, and we just massively dumped. And there is absolutely nothing to stop it even to the left. So even if you're looking for aggressive entries, I would even say you can already short it from that forward imbalance. Like Aussie dollar is not giving me such vibes because it's just tapping into like a demand zone to the left, the weekly imbalance, and it looks not as weak as this one. This one is just shouting to me shorts. So let's see. You have two situations here. Either wait for a daily imbalance to form and then trade it on Tuesday, or already start chasing the market lower if it pulls back into this forward imbalance. If you get some short setups, you can already start going short. Let's see. It's not some of my favorite pairs, but looking at how nicely developed this week, this one was nice. This one is nice. It had a forward tap, massively dumped. It continued making forward imbalances. Here we had an imbalance. It tapped. It again ended up dumping. This one at least was pulling back, while the others were not pulling back or just chopped all the way until the news release. So NZUSD looks very good. Short bias. Let's see how it goes. All right, next on the list is Mr. Goat. Starting the month with all the volatility we had on the Forex pairs, Goat is quite conservative. So we didn't do as much. And you can see we're having right now this weekly bullish imbalance, which looks very nice for a potential pullback into the incoming week. Because we're really sitting up very nicely at a higher high. Definitely looking for a potential higher low because on the weekly, because there is nothing to potentially push on the daily. You can see a rather slow week here. So if you were trading gold this week, you probably got some hits because it was very, 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 very tricky. So I really don't have anything to mention here on the daily. My main kind of zone of interest is going to be that weekly zone here. So if the 4-hourly time frame starts giving me some short bias to potentially guide me into that weekly zone, I will definitely be interested to go short. But currently it is just a consolidation. We are at the very top, all-time highs. We gave a little bit of a pullback. We tried to push and take new all-time highs, but then we started consolidating. No imbalances are respected. No structure clearly is being made. So currently, guys, gold is just choppy, right? Don't drop to the 1-hourly time frame right now, because if your daily is looking like this, that means your 4-hourly time frame is also disastrous. And if the 4-hourly time frame is also looking like that, don't drop even lower. You're just going to get burned, okay? So what I would require of gold is to start potentially printing some bearishness and then guide me into that weekly zone. And if it starts printing bullishness, then of course we target new all-time highs. But currently it is very unclear, so we just simply once again have to wait. I think right now there are a lot better pairs and instruments to focus on rather than on gold. So wait for gold to show its hand once again. It tends to enter consolidations like this, and then of course when it starts impulsing, that is the time to trade. Currently, if I was trading gold, I would definitely step aside from it. An interesting situation on USD JPY, because as we forecasted last week, we're pulling back into that monthly imbalance. And what is interesting is that we also have one just above here. And that could potentially also get reached. I would not be surprised if we just pop up a little bit higher. And then, yeah, dropping onto the weekly time frame, a very expansive week here for USD JPY, straight tapping us into that monthly imbalance. I see a very nice liquidity point here that I definitely think it could get taken. And then maybe even after we take this liquidity point, it can just very nicely draw us into that monthly bearish imbalance. And then maybe from there, look for a rollover down, which again, to me, I'm just unsure of the bias right now. Is this like really bullish? Or is it just pulling back into the monthly? On the short term is definitely bullish. You can see here, for example, on the daily. Did I check the weekly? Yeah. On the daily time frame, on Friday, we had a very nice daily bullish imbalance here, right? And you can see here, we were a little bit bearish at that time. On Monday opened, we formed the daily bearish imbalance. Tuesday came in, reacted, but then on Wednesday, we just destroyed it. And then after we destroy this, then we can potentially forecast higher prices. We got them, and the market tapped into that daily, expanding higher. It's potentially chasing that liquidity. So if we can trade into that liquidity area, there is that 4-hourly bullish imbalance as well. Now, of course, there could be a very quick trade on market open. Just tapping right there and just going for the liquidity. And then after that high is taken, then the question is, are we going to pop higher towards that monthly? Are we going to start reversing and pulling back? Are we going to start making new daily bullish imbalances to potentially support higher prices? Then we, of course, have to wait a little bit. For now, I am just bullish. I am just bullish on USD JPY. There is absolutely nothing telling me short. We tapped into the monthly right here. It gave a reaction, just massively pushed higher again on NFP. And it's actually not even a manipulation. That is staying above, breaking structure, staying above, closing above strongly. That is not like a wick out to take up and then to reverse down to close with a massive wick. No, it's strong. So to me, this one still has juice to go higher. So if you're looking to trade like a USD JPY, I'm long biased right now until proven otherwise. This is my liquidity target, and then even potentially the monthly bearish imbalance, which is the second one. Euro yen also pulling us back into that monthly bearish imbalance. Now, of course, you can see it's not as strong as USD JPY is. That is because the euro is over a week. This is why I dislike the cross pairs, because there is always like this divergence between the main pairs and then, of course, the cross. A very nice weekly candle, of course. Then dropping onto the daily, we had that same setup as we did on USD JPY, that daily, that very nice daily bullish imbalance here, tapping us in, taking us into that high currently, and then potentially into the monthly imbalance. So if you're looking for a quick trade on EJ, definitely could come in. a very quick, even I would even call this a market open trade. Even during Asia, I would not be surprised if the market just pulls back very fast and then it just goes for that monthly imbalance. And then from there, you have to wait and evaluate. Are we going to continue building bullish order flow to get deep into that monthly imbalance? Are we going to start reversing and printing like daily rejections and hourly rejections? That is the very big question right now, because right now we're making our way towards that monthly zone. And then after this monthly zone gets tapped, then of course we have to wait and evaluate. So for now on the short term, it's a very nice bullish order flow. We have the liquidity target. We have the potential zone that we want to see price get into. So if we can get a quick long into here, gonna be pretty nice. And then afterwards, we gotta wait. With GU being so weak, I wouldn't expect this one here to be moving very nicely. Now, we already had a monthly bearish imbalance tap here, reacted. So currently, this is going to be the liquidity because that is a failed high, a high that failed to really push the market somewhere. And that is also kind of the previous, no, it's not the previous, it's the previous weekly high. And this week, we actually had a very nice weekly zone here to be looking for longs. The market tapped it and a very nice expansion. Very nice expansion, but then of course, as you start dropping onto the daily time frame, you can see we don't really have any daily bullish imbalances, and then of course we drop to the volatility time frame. Structure was a little bit weird, right? So yeah, we did have a very nice structural approach here, dropping us into the 50%, pulling us back, for example, into this guy here. But then of course, all the upper one failed. We also had some bearishness introduced into the market here. So you had quite a couple of supply and demand sandwich situations here. So I'm not sure how much you could have capitalized on the longs, right? And currently, again, similar to the rest, we're having that hourly bullish imbalance here. We actually even have one above right there that just happened on market open, on market close, sorry. So on market open, you can be looking for something like that. Okay, now keep in mind, GU is very weak. Okay, so I would be careful because GBP is very weak. Okay, GBP here should also go down, but with USD JPY being so strong, you can see this one goes up, this one goes down. So again, this one should be chopping. And you can see overall, like it's not really moving massively up, it's not really moving massively down. It's something in the middle. This is why I don't really like the cross pairs. So I'm gonna say long bias towards that high, and then after this high gets taken, then of course, guys, we have to just detach and just wait to see what's gonna happen, because again, I can't really tell you, I don't know. So let's see, could be a very nice market open setup that is presented across all the JPYs. Let's see if it plays out. All right, let's check out the futures, starting with ES. Now, we're overall bullish, kind of sitting around the all-time highs. A little bit of an uncertainty right now about the stock market. So with everything that is happening across the world as well, with elections, what is the next move? Now, the very key highlight this week is that we pulled back into that weekly bullish imbalance, and that opens up a very nice target, which is literally all-time highs right now. You can see also to the left, we're having that very nice OB here, that singular candle, breaking structure again with an imbalance, tapping inside, a very nice reaction. So I'm overall bullish, but you can see it took the market a lot of time to react, and it was pretty much NFP that gave us a little bit of a pop higher. So I really do like that NFP candle. It gives me a very nice direction, and it's not like a wick out. It's not a weak candle. It's a pretty strong candle right now. So if I start getting something on the volatility time frame or even on the 1 hourly time frame for into the next week, I would be quite interested to go long. Unfortunately, you can see it was very choppy. Now, surprisingly, I managed to really take quite a couple of nice scalps on ES this week, but I'm not really logged into my account right now to show you the executions. I just started making good progress on Top Step, and then I realized my country is banned from Top Step, so I had to change the prop firms. So very tricky situation. But back to the analysis, of course, we are currently driving higher, nothing on the FOH. So again, when it comes to this one right here, we really have to wait for the market to give us some sort of a context, some sort of a zone to potentially continue going higher, targeting all-time highs, okay? Now, I would call out all-time highs simply because I really like how the market is starting to flip to the upside, holding from that weekly imbalance, holding from that overall zone to the left here. Look at how the market actually tapped that order block to the left, and then it actually maintained the low here. This was the strong low. Wednesday set the low here at pretty much at the market open, and then we really didn't really break it in the next days. And then right now we're starting to pop higher, which again to me, I would wait for some sort of a 1 hourly context or 4 hourly kind of zones and POIs to potentially guide me towards all-time highs. And then after all-time highs are taken, then of course you have to once again step back. So that's my outlook on ES, on the S&P. We'll be looking for longs, but potentially I don't trade indices on Monday. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, all trading days, of course, apart from the CPI. And then, of course, we're going to see how it goes. But let's see if all-time highs are going to get taken on the ES this week. All right, let's have a look at NQ. Now, of course, you can see this one is quite far away from all-time highs. So the S&P index is a lot stronger than the NQ. So tech stocks are looking like they're taking a little bit of a beating. Although like the biggest tech stocks are also like having the most weight for the S&P as well. But yeah, overall, a slow opening. So the first weekly candle here, you can see it's a very nice candle. Don't get me wrong. We're pulling back into the weekly zone. We're actually seeing a very nice rejection candle, which opens up a very nice target of that high. And you can see to the left here where we already tapped into that old imbalance, gave the reaction. So if the market is going to go bullish, I would really love for NASDAQ to even target new all-time highs, right? But that's going to mean that ES and the S&P should really push a lot more above all-time highs. So is that really going to happen? I don't know. But in terms of short-term targets, there is that weekly zone getting tapped. We consolidated here for 2 days. I was quite surprised that I managed to take wins on those 2 days on that chop. But it was just very quick scalps, like 1 to 1, 1 to 1.2. And right now we're printing a very nice bullish candle on Friday. Again, opening up a lot of space for a potential profit taking all the way up here. Now, again, the key is I really want to see something on the 4-hourly time frame. I really want to see something clear on the 1-hourly time frame, and we don't have it yet. You can see it was quite choppy. And then as we started making our move, our way higher here, it was also very choppy. Now here you can see the weekly low was set on Tuesday, while on the S&P it was set on Wednesday. So that is what they call like this divergence thing. And I kind of saw this, right? And I was like, okay, interesting. And then it's nice to see how they actually started to roll to the upside. Now, of course, I'm not really going to go on the 1-hourly time frame right now in the weekend. On the 1-hourly time frame, I always go just before the trading session during New York Stock Exchange. But overall choppy week. Right now starting to give us some bullishness. So if I get some 1-hourly or even 4-hourly imbalances to go higher, right, to guide me into that very recent high, I would be very happy to go long. Very, very, very happy to go long. I actually find myself liking NQ a little bit more. ES is a lot kind of slower. When I take a trade on ES, it tends to chop. While if I take a trade on NQ, it just tends to go, which is why I usually prefer NQ over ES. But sometimes ES is going to give a better setup. So then I'm going to jump onto ES. And then usually then NASDAQ is going to consolidate. So it's all about becoming a master of those two, which I'm currently working on. US 30 or YM is also quite bullish. Now the monthly candle opened, but nothing to really work with there. Similar to the rest, it's tapping into a weekly imbalance. And then yeah, on the daily time frame, it is a very big consolidation here at the top. Of course, we still have all-time highs. But very big consolidation. Friday's candle really nicely popping higher, and then you drop to the 4-hourly time frame, and there is still nothing to really work with. There is no 4-hourly imbalance. There is no clear kind of breaks of structure. So again, you have to really start referring right now to the 1-hourly time frame. Although it was very nice pop here on Friday. We had a very nice pullback into all of these imbalances here together with that sell candle. That is your order block, and then it ended up rolling very nicely higher, right? Taking that high as liquidity. And currently, even if that was, for example, fresh trading hours right now, I would be looking for a setup like that, retesting that broken structure, 1-hourly imbalance, and then to potentially go higher. But I would allow for Monday to play out on all the indices, and then potentially I'm gonna start looking to strike like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, all the way until Friday. So for now, waiting for bullishness. I also started looking at DAX a lot more because I saw a lot of community members of mine are also trading it. Let's have a look. Monthly time frame, nothing really much happening. We're starting with a little bit of a pullback, which is always a good thing. On the weekly time frame, we actually invalidated the new weekly bullish imbalance, which is not great. So again, nothing to really work with on the weekly as well. And then we drop to the daily, which is where it gets a little bit interesting because we had a very nice move up, and then we had a very nice move down. So this to me looks like a manipulation. up and down. This to me is more like a short signal. And then, yeah, pretty much you see we were bearish all week. And then right now on Friday, we rocketed higher overall with that bullish sentiment. Now, the next target currently, if you're thinking about short-term trading, is going to be that daily imbalance. Now, where the market is coming from, it's coming from that singular base candle, tapped in, very nicely reacting. So right now, we're very likely going for that daily imbalance. And then if I drop to the hourly time frame, you can see we're having a very nice full hourly in this case. This is something that I would like to see on ES and NASDAQ. A very nice forward imbalance like that to guide us into all-time highs or into something to the left, okay? So for example, right now, if you get a setup like this, that will be a very high probability setup. Or even if you get something on the 1 hourly time frame, if the market, let's say, doesn't really pull back into the 4 hourly, which is going to make it the breakaway gap, and then if it starts pushing higher with momentum on the 1 hourly, you can still take a trade targeting that daily. So this to me is a nice setup on DAX with the overall bullish sentiment introduced across the US indices, and they usually tend to go hand in hand. So let's see. That is my DAX outlook, looking for longs into that daily imbalance, and then from there, I'm going to wait and evaluate what is going to happen next. All right, full circle back. Now, again, we're having a very tricky situation right now because the DXY is pulling back into a monthly bearish imbalance. And again, the very big question is, okay, is it going to reverse from here, or are we going to completely shift the order flow and start targeting all the highs? And I think next week is going to be a key kind of catalyst for that. I see a lot of bullishness is kind of present within the dollar right now. The daily is bullish, the hourly is bullish, the 1 hourly is bullish, but again, we're going against the monthly. So again, really key to see, are we going to start shifting bearish, like breaking, for example, this low here, failing all of these daily bullish imbalances and then starting to build bearish structure, or are we going to continue building bullish one and maintaining that overall bullishness? And that is the same across everything, right? So for example, Euro USD, this has been the shittiest pair ever within the whole September. Like no clear direction, just an absolute chop. And then all of a sudden it just starts going and it chops and it doesn't really pull back into anything. And right now it's pulling back into that monthly imbalance. Weekly super bearish, potentially to form a weekly bearish imbalance. Daily is also quite bearish. So again, I can't say I'm long because I'm not. Everything is pointing down right now. But I also don't want to short because again, I don't want to short it exactly at the bottom right there. So again, we gotta wait. Not a very clear setup. GBP USD on the other hand, it's giving us a lot more bearishness. It doesn't really have that monthly bullish imbalance that EU has. And it's also invalidating kind of this weekly bullish imbalance here. So on the daily, we also have this very nice daily bearish here. If it pulls back, then we can potentially draw towards that liquidity target. So I think a short trade on GU could be very nice, which kind of aligns with the short bias overall on Aussie dollar. Although on Aussie dollar, I would avoid it because it's just tapping into that weekly bullish imbalance. Together with that OB to the left, so I wouldn't really look to go short or long on that one. I'm just gonna wait to see how the market is gonna respond from these two areas. Meanwhile, NZUSD is rolling down very nice, nothing to stop it, invalidating that weekly imbalance, so I would even look for a short trade here towards that liquidity target. Gold, avoid. The JPYs have a very nice short-term long setup. All of them have that hourly bullish imbalance to potentially tap in and guide us higher. I think USD JPY is going to go for that high and then potentially pushes into that monthly imbalance. And then from there, we have to wait and evaluate what is going to happen next. So if you're trading the JPYs, you have a short-term long trade idea. For the futures, the indices, I'm looking for longs, ES, potential all-time highs. Looking for something to form on the hourly or in the 1 hourly time frame, so I have something to trade from. NASDAQ also looks good, and this one again, you can see it's quite far away from all-time highs. Now, I'm not going to require all-time highs. To me, the short-term target, taking it one step at a time, it's going to be that one. So if I get some sort of a hourly zone to trade from there, gonna be very nice. YM or the Dow Jones, the US 30, I don't trade this one, but it's also looking like longs. And also DAX is also looking like longs with a very nice target of that daily bearish imbalance that the market could potentially want to rebalance. Okay, so when it comes to the USD pairs, some are a lot bearish like GU, NU, and even AU, while EU, for example, is a little bit 50-50 right now. So I'm going to be very careful going into next week. Going to be very careful to judge which imbalances are holding, which imbalances are failing, and then potentially waiting for high probability, easy setups to strike on. Okay. So whole new month is starting. Be careful trading into the next week, but of course start also pressing on the pedal because we're getting into pretty much the final months right now. And with NFP out of the way, pretty much right now we're gonna start getting the best setups. So let's focus.